Hello, this is Frederick Lopez. You're on the Dark Knight of Steel channel, and today I'm going to be going over my initial thoughts and review of Captain America Civil War. I just got back from the cinema, and I have to say it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and more than made up for Age of Ultron last year. How to describe it? It's probably like Captain America 3, even though it's the third Captain America film, really it's kind of like Captain America 3 mixed in with a bit of Iron Man 4 and the Avengers 2.5. Minus Thor and Hulk. But I thought it was a really well-made action film, and it was quite a spectacle. The Russo brothers have done a fantastic job yet again, and as one of the few Marvel Studios franchises, it's just like, it improves upon each entry, I feel. Like, there's the first Avenger, which I actually thought was a really great movie, until like the third act, and then it kind of felt rushed. But then Winter Soldier was vastly superior to the first Avenger. And Civil War, I think, might be better than Winter Soldier, but I kind of enjoy Winter Soldier as much. They're kind of like neck and neck, but it's just a tiny bit there. But I still think the first Iron Man's the best Marvel Studios film, but I get to that later. Captain America Civil War. I want to see what the Russo brothers do with the Infinity War, because this was just great. It did have some jokes, yes, but it wasn't like Josh Whedon stuff or just wink at the camera, let's tell a joke, become almost a self-parody. No, things were very, very serious still in this movie. And the stuff that was said was actually like quite funny, I thought. Hell, let me just get to it. I really, really liked Black Panther in the film. And I want to see what Ryan Coogler does with the solo Black Panther film, because I was a really, really big fan of Creed. And then Spider-Man, let's get to Spider-Man. Wow, as a Spider-Man fan, this has probably been the best incarnation of Spider-Man since the first Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. Now, the first Amazing Spider-Man, I enjoyed it, but it still kind of rubbed me the wrong way that they rebooted the film so fast. And the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is Amazing Spider-Man 2, but this is probably like the most I've enjoyed Spider-Man. The most I've enjoyed Spider-Man since Spider-Man 2, so in about 12 years. It's the best incarnation. It's almost like they got the comics, they got a bit of the 90s cartoon with the Spider-Man and his amazing friends from the 70s and put it to one character. A lot of the Steve Ditko work on the mask is just great all around. And it was nice to see an actual kid play Peter Parker / Spider-Man. You didn't have somebody who was like 31 pretend to be in high school, so it felt very authentic. Now, Civil War basically starts off where Winter Soldier ended. They end up going into Crossbones. And then something happens that causes some destruction, so it begs a question of like, do the Avengers need to be put in check? Do they actually harm more people than they do save people? Is the safety and defeat of an enemy worth the price of innocent lives? So that question's brought up, and we see that a bit at the beginning, and then Tony Stark's at this convention area, and somebody whose son died in Age of Ultron basically confronts him, says that you killed my son, you should feel guilty. So he starts to think. And that's what starts it. William Hurt returns from Incredible Hulk, and then the government's pretty much kind of like the Civil War story. It is the Civil War storyline. That's one thing that is like the comics, is like the one I do like a registration act where it's just like, you either retire or you work for us. The government keeps you in check and tells you where to go. So Tony Stark's like, you know what, maybe we do need to be put in check. And I like Tony Stark in this. He's not like the Tony Stark from Age of Ultron. I feel like this is the same Tony Stark we saw from the Iron Man trilogy and the first Avengers. He even mentions, yeah, I used to make weapons until I saw what harm it was doing, so I stopped making weapons. I started to protect people. And I was like, that's the Tony Stark I missed in Age of Ultron. I didn't like him as a villain. But here, it's a great thing about this film. He has that viewpoint, and then Captain America is basically just like, you know what, yeah, we surrender this, but we don't have a freedom to choose. You chose to change, Tony, but we don't have a choice here, and that's what he's worried about. And it's great because most films, they have superheroes, they fight, but what's great about this, it's almost like real life, really. I mean, just look at Congress and stuff. There is no good versus evil, there is no right versus wrong. Both sides are right, both sides are wrong. It's kind of hard. There really is no enemy. It's a matter of like compromise and coming to the best of both worlds and not choosing one side or another. So that gets complicated. Meanwhile, to make even more further complications, Bucky, the Winter Soldier, he's been missing, and somebody sets him up. There's a bomb that goes off somewhere, and they think he did it, and Captain America's like, that's odd. So he confronts him about it, and the Winter Soldier's just like, I didn't do anything, somebody set me up. So then Captain America has to get him, and then all through this, he's trying to help Bucky find out who is setting him up, and if there's a bigger enemy in the remnants of Hydra, and like who is after them. So it kind of gets complicated, because then Iron Man wants to help out, and then doesn't really quite believe Captain America, so he has his side of people, and then Captain America has his other side of people. So on Iron Man's side, you have Spider-Man, you have the Vision, you have Black Widow, you have Black Panther, and War Machine. While on Captain America's side, besides Bucky the Winter Soldier, you have the Falcon, you have Scarlet Witch, and then you have Ant-Man. And then on Iron Man, you have Spider-Man. But it gets quite complex, and that's just for a non-spoiler review. I won't go to spoilers till later. But it's a really well-made movie, and the action is just incredible. Now, there's only one nitpick I had, and it's a very minor one. There's just some shaky cam, but not to an annoying level like the third Bourne Identity. It's not like Bourne Ultimatum, where it's just like everywhere. It's just like a little... But it's well choreographed, and what I love about what the Russos have done is that they've done a lot of stuff in camera. Yeah, there's stuff computerized, and there's lots of destruction, but like a lot of it is in camera. There's this part where at the beginning, there's a guy there, Captain America runs, does like a jump kick, kicks him, and then in the camera you see the guy hit a pillar, all in one shot. Now, it's edited with like 2 different takes probably, but like it's all done inside the camera, so it's just nice seeing that. But I have to say, this film is a lot more emotional than I thought it was going to be. And the good thing about this film is that everybody has their motivations, and yet everybody has their equal share of screen time. I feel like nobody got shafted, really. I feel like Spider-Man had his screen time. Everybody had their moment to shine. And in a way, it reminded me a bit of The Dark Knight, as far as like everybody having their moments, and you understanding everybody's motivations, really. And the good thing is that there is some extra exposition, and it was a bit long, but it all ties back in the end, and that's the important thing, is that it didn't feel like there was any unnecessary scenes. Everything was woven in from beginning to end perfectly, and that's what I loved about it. Now, on the Batman-Superman argument, I don't like that. I actually enjoyed this film as much as I did Batman-Superman. Not saying it's a bad film, I love them both, but I'm tired of the light versus dark, funny versus serious, DC versus Marvel. I'm tired of the petty fanboy criticism and just nonsense from the critics. I mean, I enjoyed both movies, and we're blessed. I mean, we are so blessed to be living in a time where not only do you get Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman in one film, but you get Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Vision, Scarlet Witch, War Machine, Falcon, even Ant-Man in one film. And both of them are out this year. And that's just like the first part. You also had a Deadpool film. Then you're going to have the X-Men with Apocalypse, and then a younger Cyclops finally with Jean Grey and Storm. And later on in the year, Suicide Squad, in which you'll get Harley Quinn for the first time on a film. And then the Joker and Batman. So it's just so great to be living in the time we're living in. And I feel like people have been kind of spoiled with expectations and everything. I do agree some of the films should be a bit better, but this was one of the better films in the top tier, and it is in my top 5 Marvel Studio films of my personal favorite. And I have to say, we're blessed to be living in a time like this. I mean, 10 years ago, you asked me, I'm like, you think a movie like this would be possible? Any of the superhero films we're getting? Not really. I didn't think it was going to be later on in my lifetime. Like, I thought it would have been like 50 years old by the time this movie would have happened. Or even the freaking Avengers. Like, I thought it would have had to be 60. We're getting, not only we have 2 of those films and kind of a semi-Avengers in this one, we're getting Justice League. So, I like both films, and it's a great film. And believe it or not, Batman, Superman, and Civil War do have a lot of things in common as far as plot beats. But, they both have very different approaches of taking them. But, hell, this movie kicks off the summer blockbuster season, and it's just great all around. From the story, the characters. There's certain heartfelt moments. There's certain things where stuff is at stake. Now, the humor The humor is funny, and there's like a middle part in the airport that kind of takes away a bit, but it's not to the point where you roll your eyes or just annoyed. It's just that's the way it is. Now, it does use pretty much the same Marvel formula, so you're not going to get the risky moves you've seen in the comics. Like, Captain America's going to live at the end of this. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, but he doesn't die. So there's not really anything too gravely at stake, but it is a serious film. By far, it's probably one of the most darkest Marvel Studio films to date. And it's a very well-made movie, well acted. And not only that, this film tackles bigger themes about like vengeance and being consumed by it in a much better way than films like Spider-Man 3 did. Spider-Man 3 tried to do that theme, but didn't really succeed with the multiple plot points and villains. And this does it in such an organic way where you kind of don't realize it. You see why they're like this. You see the motivations behind the characters. And that's one great thing about this film. And I have to say, the villain, Zemo. I thought Robert Redford was a lot more menacing, but Zemo has to be one of the best Marvel Studio villains, and here's why. Not only does he have motivation, but he's not like one of those like mustache-twirling villains. He's not like, I'm a Saturday morning cartoon villain, I'm going to make some jokes and then just try to destroy the whole world. No, no, no. He has something bigger. And you see his motivations and why he does what he does. It makes you question, would you do the same thing if you were in his position? And that's what's great. It brings it back to what Marvel Comics and the comic books do best, is bring relatable, relevant, grounded characters that you could see be existing in real life. It reminded me of the comic book versions of Magneto and the X-Men, or even Doctor Doom. You see their motivations. They're not just villains. Like, in a way you almost root for him. In a way you feel sorry for him. You sympathize for him. And that's what I love, that Marvel Studios in this film finally brought that to a villain. Loki's good, but he's just, I can't take him seriously as much, and he makes jokes and stuff. And Thor the Dark World had like a Power Rangers villain. Mandarin, yeah, I don't know. I liked what Guy Pearce did in that. He was a great villain in that, but it just wasn't Mandarin. And then you saw what happened with Ben Kingsley. And the rest have been kind of just like, kind of tacked on, where this villain, I could see where he was coming from, and it was just like, that makes sense. So he was one of the better Marvel Studio villains, I feel. It reminded me of a lot of what they do flawlessly in the comics, is bring relatable, relevant characters, and that's what I kind of miss in these films. So I'm kind of glad that they were finally able, in a Marvel Studios film, to bring that out in a character. Who else do we have? Emily Van Camp, yes, yes, yes. She has a lot bigger role in this. And I've seen some romance between her and Captain America. I hope her role continues to grow in the future, but it was a great film, and I want to see what the Russos do with Infinity War. I really do. Like, I'm excited for Infinity War Part 1 and 2 after this, and it was a breath of fresh air, really, after Joss Whedon's Avengers. Like, it still has the comedy and humor in there. It still follows a Marvel formula, but it has enough seriousness to ground all the heroes to reality, so it doesn't feel too it doesn't feel too bloated, it doesn't feel too out of this world. Like, it feels very grounded, and it's just a well-made film. It's 2 hours and 26 minutes. It does feel a bit long at the beginning, like I said, but it's important exposition that's needed and really pays off in the end. And I'm not going to give away the end, but the ending of the film is just emotional, and really, not only does it cap off a Captain America trilogy, but it's basically the culmination of all the Marvel Studio films after the first Iron Man. Everything kind of culminates into this one thing, especially regarding Tony Stark's past, Hydra, and Captain America's past. So I would like to see where they go from here into the Infinity War. But I really, really, really enjoyed this film. Ant-Man. Oh, before I forget, Ant-Man has his moment to shine. Oh my god, he's probably him and Spider-Man are the scene stealers in this. I love Black Panther a lot too, but Ant-Man has some funny stuff instead of Spider-Man. The only thing that bugged me, though, is that Peter Parker was a garbage digger, and he had a 1989 computer, and stole a DVD player. You kind of feel sorry for him with his suit, but the only thing that just rubbed me the wrong way is that the apartment him and Aunt May were at was like nicer than the past houses in the other films. So I'm like, yeah, he has his old computer, but he's living in a pretty nice place. They couldn't afford another computer besides that. Like, even if it was just like used or something. It just kind of floored me, especially like in 2016, but Nevertheless, Tom Holland did a great job. It's nice seeing an actual kid play Spider-Man, get that humor right. Everything about this film was great. I enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm the only person to enjoy probably Batman, Superman, and Captain America Civil War equally. And this is coming from a guy who's like a DC fan. But I love Marvel too. More so the comics and the films, but this is good. Great film. Just go see it. Go see Captain America. You're going to enjoy it. It kicks off the summer blockbuster season. It's one of those movies that has so much action that you're going to be like, I'm going to eat this much popcorn. It has so much action that you just eat a whole bunch of popcorn. It's just amazing. So we have to see how X-Men is after this, but I give Captain America Civil War a 4 out of 5 stars and an 8 out of 10. Go see it. You'll enjoy it. I'm actually Team America, but I don't have any Captain America shirts, so I wore Iron Man. I know. I was Team America, but by the end of the film, you're going to be kind of Team Iron Man, so I'm glad I wore the Iron Man shirt. So, that's just my initial thoughts and just basic review. Not really anything too in-depth. I might get into some spoiler stuff later in the video when I upload it on my other channel. But, yeah. That's just my immediate thoughts of that. I don't really do movie reviews too much on this channel. I'll do my other channel, Frederick Lopez, and I just want to give my initial thoughts. Since I reviewed Batman Superman, I thought it'd only be fair to review Civil War, and they're both are great movies, and I really, really, really dig Civil War, so we'll have to see where it goes from here. But it definitely made up for Age of Ultron. I'm happy. I haven't felt this happy about a Marvel Studios film in a while, probably since like Winter Soldier. It's great. It's great. Definitely up there with Iron Man 1, Incredible Hulk, and Winter Soldier. So, that's my review. Enjoy my other videos. Enjoy some other retrospective horror movie reviews or action films on my other channel, the Frederick Lopez channel. And yeah, go see Captain America.